Hello and welcome to the Geeks Review. I'm Royce.
And I'm Ben. Today we're going to be talking about Terminator Dark Fate, an official sequel to Terminator 2 Judgment Day.
Just to introduce ourselves again, I'm Royce. I'm the writer of The Misadventures of Agneta DeVoe and Lion Goats.
And I'm Ben. I've worked with Royce with those projects, and now we do reviews together.
Yeah, we both like films and we're going to talk about them.
Yeah.
So Terminator Dark Fate is the sixth entry in the Terminator franchise, a franchise that's been going for about 35 years now. This is the first film that's had James Cameron involved since Terminator 2 back in 1991. There's also Arnold Schwarzenegger and Linda Hamilton are back playing the Terminator and Sarah Connor. It's a completely new series that sees the introduction of actress Mackenzie Davis from films like Tully and Blade Runner 2049. A lot of twists and turns and a lot of cool action and a few niggles here and there.
Yeah.
Ben, you want to start off with your thoughts on this film?
Well, when I watched this movie, low expectations, because I was pretty sure that this movie was pretty much just going to be like how some movies today are going to be like, oh, all the men are bad or we're better and all that. But you didn't get that much from this movie, which surprised me. So I was like, that's good. So I was on board with the movie so far. I thought the visual effects in this movie was really well done. It looked very clean cut. Particularly in the intro of the movie, which I thought they did amazing. So, yeah. The action, well, as you said, was really good. I quite enjoyed the action for most of the movie. The cast also gave a good performance. I thought they did well with how the script was written. So, yeah, I quite enjoyed most of the movie. But there were also some scenes that really bugged me. I was too busy questioning. I was like, wait, how does this make sense here if it's over there? Because it just takes you away from the story.
Going to your first point there where you talked about this agenda that you worried this film had. For those who don't know, this has a predominantly female cast. There's, of course, Sarah Connor, played by Linda Hamilton. There's the new character called Grace and Danny. But, I mean, you've also got the return of Arnold Schwarzenegger and the Terminator himself, played by Gabriel Luna. These Terminator films have always had sort of an equal focus, I guess, on the genders. It's equally been on John, on Sarah, on Marcus, like back in Terminator Salvation, or the vet character whose name I can't remember, played by Claire Danes and Bryce Dallas Howard in 3 and 4.
Yeah.
There's really been an equal focus, and I think this is a film that really juggles it and doesn't make a big deal of it at all. I did like the film. I've gone through and watched all of the Terminator films this last week, and I think this is up there as one of the best ones, I think, in my opinion. I did think a lot of the action was good until towards the end, which I think is an issue that all of these films have. They sort of have an issue with their runtime where they feel a lot longer than they actually are.
Yeah.
Especially Terminator 2 and even Terminator 1, which is only a 100-minute film, feels really long towards the end. And I think it's the nature of this film and the villains within the film, these Terminators, which are just nearly unstoppable killing machines. You think you've killed it, and it gets back up.
It's a cycle that happens too often, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think this sort of stands up among one of the better ones in the series.
That's interesting you say that, actually.
Well, yeah, as I said, James Cameron was involved with this, and he did have quite a big
He
say.
produced it, if I saw the credits correctly.
He also came up with the story and apparently did write it, but is uncredited.
Yeah, actually, I did see that in the end credit.
Which was not a point that was really marketed.
Not really,
in this film, because this film has it cost a lot of money to make, and it's not made all that money back. Neither did the film before this, actually, Terminator Genesis, back in 2015. And I think had people gone and said James Cameron is involved in this, he did write it, a lot more people might have been interested, because even though you've got Linda Hamilton and Arnold Schwarzenegger, to have those three back together would have been like, wow, okay, this is something.
All three of them together would be like, now we've got to get a good story here.
It's an interesting direction to take, because a lot of the Terminator sequels do kind of go, everything before was sort of a waste of time and it was all for nothing.
I thought the villain of this movie was actually pretty much almost a carbon copy, if you ask me. Because it felt like they just took two ideas and just cut and paste them and put them together, like with the Rev 9 Terminator. The way that I saw the Rev 9 was basically the TX from Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines, but with the weapons of a T-1000.
Yes, so for those who don't remember, the T-1000 was the villain in Terminator 2. He was liquid metal, played by Robert Patrick. He could change his form. He could, shoot various weapons out of his
body.
appendages.
Yeah, and have blade arms and all that.
The TX was played by Christina Locke, and she was a female Terminator that did have like a liquid metal exterior, but also had like the traditional Terminator skeleton.
Exoskeleton of, yeah.
Yeah, so it was a similar thing, because this new one was like a black skeleton, robot with this black liquid metal, which could change shapes and change colours. It was similar to that, but I think this one felt more dangerous, at least than the TX did. I rewatched Terminator 2 last night, and the T-1000, still scary as all hell.
Oh, no,
intense.
Yeah, T-1000, no, you don't want to mess with that thing.
No, this one... There's been discussions online, and I think this one is at least in terms of like powers and abilities, and
it really knows how to infiltrate.
Yeah, it's the most sort of human Terminator we've seen, which is actually
it puts on a personality which is very different to what we've seen in other Terminators.
I think it's now my second favourite villain. T-1000 first, then this one, and then probably sort of equal footing the original Terminator in the first film, which, Arnold Schwarzenegger, but that's somewhat been diminished by him playing so many good Terminators.
Yeah.
After that.
Kind of funny, like, you expected one scene, he was going to go, alright, he's going to kill this person here. No, he just casually walks away.
Yes.
Yeah, because in the trailer, it was shown that he was going through a metal detector.
And he says, I served 2 tours of duty in Afghanistan. I got a metal hip.
That was like, okay.
Yeah, sure, go on through. Thank you for your service. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is...
yeah.
Oh, that's dangerous.
It's kind of funny when you hear a Terminator acting kind in a way, like kind of, especially in that way. Like it was like thank you, and just continue walking.
Watching them all back now, there isn't really a Terminator who is like that. They're very cold, I would say. I did used to watch the Terminator Sarah Connor Chronicles series.
I used to watch that 2 years ago.
Yeah, I haven't seen it in many years, and based on reviews, it looks really good, so I need to track it down. But that really delved into different Terminators, and Terminators really playing human. And there was things from that which later came about in the films, which I was sort of like, oh, haven't we seen this before? And it was all in this TV show. And actually, the writer of that show was actually the writer on this film.
Really?
So, Josh Friedman, I believe his name is.
Yeah, I guess they probably would have gotten someone who was part of the Sarah Connor Chronicles with James Cameron to writing this movie,
Before we get into spoiler talk, just sort of sum up whether you would recommend it or not.
For me, because I've loved watching the Terminator movies since I was little, and so me and my sister, we always talking about the new Terminator movies coming out. When I watched this movie, I walked out, and I'm like, I kind of got a mixed feeling, like kind of like the same thing with Star Wars: The Last Jedi. I was unsure how to feel, because there were a few things I liked in this movie, but when it comes to like, there are some bad things that just made me like, why? Like, some of it does make sense, yes, but then the direction that they went with a couple of other things, I'm like, that doesn't make sense to me.
Okay, so we'll go into spoilers. I liked it. I guess I do have a long standing. I've been watching these films on and off for like 12 years now. So I'd recommend it, and I definitely think it's one of the better ones out there if you're looking for like a Terminator 3. It's definitely better than Terminator 3, in my opinion.
Oh, I would disagree with that. First thing I didn't like was literally in the first 2 minutes of the movie, they shot young John Connor point blank.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no. Like, this is what I don't understand. What is up with movie franchises these days? Like, when they're continuing, they always have to, like, treat older characters poorly. Like, they were nothing and all that.
Like with Star Wars.
Yeah, particularly Star Wars, that happens too much. Like, the scene opens up, you have Lyndall Hamilton and John Connor, they've been CGI'd, which looks amazing.
Yeah, really good.
I would admit, that looks amazing.
Yeah, it's a scene set 22 years ago, and they're
1997.
de-aged, and they look like they do in the 90s. It's amazing.
Very darn close. So I was like, wow.
Yeah, it's a really bold and interesting way to start the film. It was one of James Cameron's ideas.
Was it?
It was one of his ideas. He said, why not kill him? Because this is a thing, because James Cameron has done a lot, but he hasn't worked on a Terminator film since the early 90s. So while he does obviously have some sense of ownership and I guess connection to these characters, I guess he feels more strongly connected to Sarah Connor because he went and killed off John to serve her character. But at the same time, as he's not worked on it for many decades, it's probably easy for him to go, I'll just kill John Connor, just get rid of it.
I'm not sure how to feel about that now. That kind of like made it kind of worse for me now. Like, coming from James Cameron, I'm like,
Well, the thing is that there's so many films in this franchise. Well, I mean, there's 6. There's the original 2, and then you've gone and got 4 what-ifs. And I think this is one of those what-ifs. And it's much like a film series I'll get to in a second, where there's so many different options. that you can choose what you want to happen. If you want John Connor to live, you've got the Terminator Sarah Connor Chronicles series. You got Terminator 3, you got Terminator 4, you got Genesis, which does something else completely different with John Connor, essentially kills him and turns him into the villain, but doesn't, shoot him point blank range as a child in the face.
Yeah.
As this film does. It's bold, and I think it was a bit sudden. I think if they'd maybe had some more leading up to it, and then did it.
When you look at Terminator 2 especially, particularly with the opening with this movie, it kind of undermines what happens in T2. It made everything pointless. Because if you think about it, because in the movie it explains that Skynet sent 6 other T-800s to kill John Connor. And I'm sitting there so that makes it like Skynet was panicking, like it's having an emotional response, like, oh, panic, let's send all these Terminators in. I mean, I guess that plan did work, but at the same time, it just made Skynet desperate, in my opinion.
I kind of got the feeling that it was always a desperate move for them to send. It's like, okay, we can't defeat the humans. Let's go back to the very beginning and turn the odds in our favour. It does present an interesting thing within the world, because with Terminator 2, they seemingly destroy Skynet, but then next film, oh no, Skynet's still there. And in every film, there has been, a Skynet there. But this one goes and establishes, no, they changed that future, but
Skynet doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, there's now this new
AI.
This new AI called Legion. Sarah says, she swears quite heavily, like, why did they have to...
They never learn.
That was pretty good, actually.
Yeah, I liked her reaction to that, because that's how I felt. I was just like, yeah, that's exactly how I was thinking. I was like, yeah, they didn't learn a freaking thing.
It would happen, though.
I mean, yeah, that's true, but... Well, because what confuses me about Legion, because when you look at Skynet from when we had those flash forwards into the future, you see, you had the T-800s with these big plasma guns, and you have these...
The hunter-killers.
Hunter-killers, that's it, yeah. I always had, lasers and all that. But then when you look at the future this timeline for this movie, Legion, they have, these animalistic Terminators that can split apart and then just stab people.
When compared to Legion, Skynet does feel very much like a bit of technology from the 80s or the 90s. It's sort of like something that the government would have come up with then. And then it sort of feels like, looking at all these films, that Skynet, in a way, in some sort of weird bootstrap paradox, which is a time travel theory where something happens in the past which affects the future, which affects the past, which affects the future, and so on. Where it feels like they were sort of created by themselves. So, Skynet created its Terminators based upon a Terminator from the past.
Yeah.
And it's this loop of what came first, the chicken or the egg, the Terminator or the Terminator, that kind of thing. This feels like, well, no, Skynet's been wiped out, so now this Legion thing has come along, perhaps knows about the Terminators and has gone, that's a cool design, let's take that and utilize it here. It sort of feels like it has then evolved from the Terminator 1 and Terminator 2. It feels like it's a different entity, and it's taken that and gone with it in its own direction. You talk about John Connor being killed, but I think it goes to show something that is good in a way, that fans do care about this stuff.
Yeah.
They don't just want explosions or Terminators, they care about these characters. And John Connor being murdered in front of them is like, oh my god, this is horrible.
Yeah.
I'm really emotionally affected by this, to the point that it could colour a lot of people's perceptions of the film. And I think that's good in a way, that, people feel so strongly about this that they do care when things like that happen. And then this isn't just a throwaway film, it's done something that might not necessarily be good, but it's done something like that that's made people feel that way. Do you think it would have been different had they shown the flashback halfway through the film, maybe? If instead of killing him straight off the bat...
I reckon what they should have done, probably had that in the middle of the movie. Sarah Connor sees the T-800 for the first time. I reckon that's when the flashback should have happened.
But she does talk about John being dead before then. If he walks out and then you see the flashback of them on the beach, and then Arnold comes out, kills him, and then cut to present Arnold, and he's like, Sarah Connor, it's good to see you. Because I think having it at the beginning, for those fans who really do care about John Connor and were affected by it, it does ruin the movie right off the bat. And the fact that we're still talking about it.
Yeah.
It really colours your perception.
It really did.
Following the somewhat shocking opening, we jump forward to 2020. It's in Mexico. We see the arrival of a future soldier called Grace, played by Mackenzie Davis, and the new Terminator, the Rev 9, and they're going after this young woman called Danny. Begins a big chase scene, which is kind of like the opening chase scenes of Terminator 2 and 3.
Yeah.
But on steroids.
Pretty much. What I liked about those chases, they were, particularly with T2, it wasn't over the top. Like it was like, yes, you had one truck drive off a bridge and chase John Connor while he's on a bike. When the characters are in like a vehicle, like a truck, and you have the Rev 9 driving a big massive truck with a little ramp thing at the front of it, which is able to push vehicles away, it wasn't like a wow amazing or anything like that. It was kind of like, well, we kind of seen this before. And it kind of made me like, oh, well, this chase, I mean, it's okay, but nothing to write home about. So.
Yeah, it's definitely having so much CGI in films now. It makes things safer and easier and cheaper to do.
Yeah.
But watching Terminator 2 yesterday, there's so much tension. Even though I've seen that film and I know how it goes, there's so much tension in that first chase scene. Compared to this one, there is some tension.
Yeah.
But it just feels like going bigger and better and having a Terminator that can split in two, which is still cool, I think. It doesn't necessarily mean better. Like, I did think, like I said, a lot of the action was good, but it did go into kind of Fast and Furious levels of ridiculousness.
Yeah.
Like, they go and steal a helicopter, so then the Rev 9 steals a helicopter. They steal a cargo plane from the military, and then the Rev 9 steals
like, okay,
one.
I'm going to take the same thing.
Towards the end, like, there's a whole scene with them in a Humvee, which like gets thrown out the back of the cargo plane. It's parachuting down, lands in a river, and gets washed away. And I'm just like, okay, this is silly now. This is there's too much. You don't need to have all this flashy stuff. You could have saved thousands of dollars.
It was just throwing everything all at once. I think that was the issue with the last action scene.
Yeah, I think the actual fist fight that they have inside the dam is all right. But just like the big chase scene, I was thinking like, okay, they're on the plane now. They're safe. They can land it, then they can continue to fight somewhere else. But no, it's just like, oh, he comes along and he kamikazes his plane into their plane, and you got this like A-team movie scene.
Kind of, yeah. It kind of felt like that. Actually, it kind of reminded me of Spider-Man Homecoming, actually.
Yes, that was the big plane scene.
Yeah, we had a big plane that was able to camouflage itself and stuff like that, which had weapons which Michael Keaton's character, the Vulture, was actually trying to get access to.
Yeah, I completely forgot about that end scene. Like, I think about the fun chase scene at the beginning of that film where he's running through neighbourhoods in the golf course. I don't think about... It goes to show, bigger doesn't mean better. You don't need big flashy explosions when you can just have something that's simple with...
Yeah, you need something that's simple and actually like has an impact. It's also how you execute the scene as well. Because, like, as you said, with Terminator 2, it's a simple idea, but it was very suspenseful. Particularly, also you got to give credit to is the music for T2 as well. It was very suspenseful.
Speakers in our cinema were too loud. I couldn't hear the music very much.
Yeah, it was a bit like that, yeah.
It's always a problem with Village, I think. They just turn it up too loud. And especially with this film as well, when you've gone and got lots of metal clangs and screeches, it's just like screaming in your eardrums. This film, like all Terminator films, really relies heavily upon nostalgia.
It does, yeah.
Like repeated lines, come with me if you want to live, I'll be back, that kind of stuff. Yeah. I think the iteration of the come with me is this: if you don't come with me, you're going to be dead in 30 seconds. Yeah. A little clunky, a little on the nose, but it's not too bad. It's not like, you want to live? Come on, come with me if you want to live, shouts Emilia Clarke. There is, of course, the I'll be back with Sarah Connor.
Apparently she shot that scene like 50 times because every time she said it, apparently she kept sounding like Arnold. So Tim Miller, the director, was like, no, that sounds way too much like Arnold.
Apparently he didn't want to include that scene at first because he felt itself that it was too on the nose. I really did like, though, there is an iteration of that line later on in the film that Arnold says, I won't be back. It's in the middle of a sentence. I thought that was really clever. Yeah. They did that. I was like, okay. That's cool. Yeah. Talking about Arnold, actually,
I wanted to talk about more of him because I just remembered. It's like, oh yeah,
that's the reason why we're here. Yeah, the Terminator.
Arnold, I thought he did a really well performance in this movie. Like, because one thing I liked when Arnold was back as Terminator, I liked how he kept evolving the character. Yeah. Because he, like, particularly with Terminator Genesis, you do realize he does have a bit of an emotional connection to protecting Sarah because. Yeah. That's what I enjoyed the most with Arnold's character. Like, yes, he pissed me off when he killed John Connor, because I was like, okay, but when I was like, wait, that's the same T-800. Yeah, because he says he decided to learn what it means to be part of a family and all that. He took care of a woman and a son for a few years, and he's like being a stepdad and all that.
He goes by the name Carl, and he owns a drapery business. Funny thing, that was Cameron's idea as well.
Really?
Arnold Schwarzenegger has a love of interior decorating, so that's why
Oh, that's why they
had
chucked
it. Because there's this whole scene where, like, the Terminator is talking about, like, I was hired to do someone's drapes in a kid's room. You don't choose solid
in a
colours.
baby's room. That's what he said. Don't do it.
I really liked him, and there's a small detail which isn't pointed out, but it's always made clear from the first Terminator film that dogs know what a Terminator...
Always bark at Terminators.
Yeah, they can recognise that a Terminator is different.
Carl has a dog, and the dog's like sitting there like he's his best friend.
Yeah, so it either goes to show the dog knows and doesn't care or is warm to him, or Carl has this humanity within him as a Terminator that the dog doesn't recognise.
The humour of Arnold, it always was good for me. Like the Genesis was a little bit shaky, but for this one, I thought it was really good.
Yeah,
and you actually what I liked about his character was you actually felt for him. And like 2 months later, after he kills John, protects a woman and a son. I was like, I felt that kind of was a bit too soon.
Well, I watched Terminator, and he's only around John and Sarah in that film, in Terminator 2, for a few days. And he develops, like, humanity just in that time. So you go, oh, wow, okay, if they are taken away from the Skynet programming, they really do have a chance to, become nearly human.
I was discussing this with my sister, because she was like, wait a minute, surely when a Terminator completes their mission, they kill themselves. I'm like, no, they don't, because remember in T2, Arnold's Terminator says, I cannot self-terminate. Yeah, because obviously they can't kill themselves.
That's right.
Yeah, because I only remembered that 2 nights back.
Terminators, while there are a dime a dozen in regards to these machines, I guess Skynet still wants to keep them around, so if they probably just go, oh, go hide in a bunker or something for the next 40 years until we need you again, when humanity's fallen, or go kill someone else. So, as he says, with Skynet destroyed, he had no missions to go, and he just developed...
He developed a personality.
A conscience, even,
It was kind of funny, they asked us, like, so are you in love with this character? And he goes, no, it's not a physical relationship.
Yeah, I can change nappies.
It was funny because literally the first thing we see from Arnold's Terminator, he's sitting down on the couch watching a football game, I think it was, Yeah. And I'm like, I feel bad for the couch. That's what I was thinking.
You better reinforce still.
Because it was kind of funny because Sarah Connor's just like, what? She didn't notice that you weighed 400 pounds. And I thought that was funny. I was just like, yeah, that's true.
He's a great character. Like I said, I could easily watch a whole film just about his character.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, they should do a spin-off. Like, no more fighting. Just have a Terminator working as an interior designer.
Even like setting up the bunker underneath his house with all the guns and all that.
Yeah,
I'm more curious to see how he interacts with his neighbors and stuff like that, because he goes, people call me Carl, and like I wonder how those conversations went, because I can imagine him being stone cold, like for a little bit, but then almost normal, almost casual, like.
Jingle All the Way. Turns out that's...
don't remind me of that movie.
Jingle All the Way, or True Lies, or something else.
True Lies was alright. But funny enough, True Lies was also
James Cameron.
Yeah.
Oh, and Jamie Lee Curtis, which reminds me, this film reminds me so much of Halloween 2018.
I haven't seen that one.
It's really good. It is essentially what this film does. It goes, no films matter apart from the first one. This is a direct sequel to the film that came out 40 years ago. And this film is like, this is a direct sequel to the second film, which came out, 28 years ago.
Yeah.
So they both feature older, grey-haired ladies with guns. Laurie Strode, Jamie Lee Curtis, and Sarah Connor, Linda Hamilton. It really heavily relies upon the nostalgia, like the opening to this film, I think, is the most affecting of all of them. Like it's the tape playing from Terminator 2 when Sarah's in the mental asylum, and she's screaming about how everyone's going to be killed by the nuclear war. It's so affecting, I found, that it sort of got me like, wow, okay, I'm into this. And Halloween 2018 does a similar thing. Like, Michael's in prison, and these idiot podcasters go up to him and dangle his mask in front of him, going, Michael, say something, Michael. And then boom, it goes into the classic John Carpenter theme with the same pumpkin from 40 years ago, all rotted, and then it reforms itself, showing like this rejuvenation of the franchise. And similar problems, like it's really good, but that film, much like this one, towards the end does drag a bit. So what did you think about Grace? Did talk a bit about Danny, but Grace is really the new main focus.
She's the enhanced human who has pretty much enhanced strength, speed. Now, what I was really worried was she was basically going to be, I'm a human enhanced with no weakness. That's what I was worried about. But I'm But surprisingly, they gave her a weakness where she has to stay hydrated, and she has to, I think she said anti-corrosive.
Oh, she has to take like a cocktail of medication to keep herself from burning up.
Because she burns up a lot, and because if you think about it, flesh and metal wouldn't really go well.
No, but they did give her a weakness, and it's a pretty debilitating weakness. It's a good weakness as well.
Yeah, it's a good weakness.
Makes you go like, wow, okay, she really needs to
do
this. I did see some people say, oh, they talk about it a lot at the beginning, but then they just forget about it, and I'm like, they don't. It's always showing.
Towards the end, she has a bit of a reaction. She's like, I need meds, and then Arnold's character, he like jumps down, and he goes, you forgot this on the plane.
When did he grab that?
I'm sitting there like, wait, he got that in the plane while it was falling?
They're like flying around. He's like, ooh. I liked Grace as a character, and of course they bonk her off at the end.
Yeah.
And it was interesting to see, and also you talk about, this augmentation seems to be a fairly normal thing. She's not totally unique in that way. And I'm sort of thinking, oh, she's similar to Sam Worthington's character Marcus from Salvation, but I'm like, oh wait, Salvation doesn't happen anymore. There's so many ideas that are just carried across that show up in this film, which is much the same like with Halloween 2018, that while it's not a direct sequel to anything it's packed with so many references. It's basically made of references. But yeah, I really liked her character, and to give her such a weakness that doesn't make her the same as previous protectors. She has to stop. Both the villain and her in this are kind of like a combination of Kyle Reese and the T-800 from T2. I think as well, by balancing out the fight, because you've gone and got Arnold, who is old, but he's still functionally the same as the Terminators from the previous films.
Yeah.
You got Sarah, who's got all this military, well, not military, but weapons training and all this other stuff. A bit older, but she's still the same woman.
She still holds her own.
Grace, who is like so just athletic and sort of similarly flexible as the Rev 9, but gets worn out and worn down, and isn't invincible. And then Danny, who is slowly, as the film goes on, learning how to fight. So you have like so many different approaches to try and take this thing down and to try and stop it. And I think that brings a lot of variety and, I guess, interest to the film, rather than just having a lot of people just shooting at it over and over again.
Yeah.
Or smashing through walls, which is all fun.
Yeah, it's all fun, but
yeah,
a lot to talk about, but we don't have time for it.
It's I'm surprised. We've had to trim this down a lot.
Yeah, because looking at this, I'm like, there's a lot to talk about, but we can't cover it, unfortunately.
Well, we've got 2 more minutes, I guess. So. Is there anything else you want to go through?
What was another thing? With what I forgot to say this when I was talking about the T-800 for Arnold in this movie was because it shows that he was the one sending texts to Sarah. And what I really liked was when the T-800 was making his last stand against the Rev 9. I actually liked the fact, just as the Rev 9 was starting to melt onto the T-800, I liked how when Sarah was looking down, Arnold's character was like, for John, and then his face catches on fire, and then the T-800 melts with the Rev 9.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really well done.
Yeah.
I thought that was really emotional. I was like, wow, actually pulled the heartstrings there. That's really nice. Because I like how they, with the setup, how they made us feel for that character, and then they kill him off with an emotional end. And I thought, that's pretty good considering to T2 with his T-800 model putting himself into lava. Yeah. So, I'd say that comes really close to that scene, to be honest.
It is a really emotional film when you get down to it. There's so much in it that, like John Connor's death, the T-800's death, and the fact that he was the one who killed John Connor, and you still feel something for him.
Yeah, that's funny enough. I think
that's successful, I guess. I guess on Schwarzenegger's part.
That is a good thing about this movie. I thought it was really well done with his character.
I think this was a really good film, despite some, I guess, negative stuff, but I guess it goes to show how much people do care about these characters and this story. This is probably going to be the last Terminator film ever, because it hasn't made its budget back.
No.
And I did hear in some cases it was intended to be the end. And while it does sort of end on like a not so much a cliffhanger, but it's like there is more. And I think they could just leave it here. They could maybe do spin-off films, focus on other things,
or even TV shows on minor characters. Carl, Terminator Chronicles.
So this has been our review of Terminator Dark Fate. It's now available on DVD, Blu-ray and other home media. If you like the sound of it, give it a watch. I'm Royce.
I'm Ben.
This has been the Geeks Review. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.